So here we go again. Welcome back to the broncolor studio. My name is Urs Recher. I'm the photographer here at broncolor, and it's my pleasure to be back here online with you guys. It was quite a long break now, a couple of weeks, a few months after the last webinar. And we continue now with a very short series of webinars. Actually, it's just two are scheduled right now. One today, it's product inside on the Picolite. And then on December the 8th, I will be back here at the same time, at the same studio with a live webinar, live shoot, where I actually shoot with the Picolite, application of the Picolite on a product shot. I haven't decided yet what I'm going to shoot, but it will definitely be something small, a small product. And yeah, there we will actually see what these different tools and toys can do. So what's going to happen today? We talk, as I said at the introduction, we talk about the Picolite. So what is the Picolite? Let me show this one slide quickly to you. So it's the light that allows us to illuminate a match isolated on a set. So what we are talking today about is light precision, how we can, in the end, with this special tool, which is the projecting attachment for the Picolite, we actually can control the light almost to the pixel. Then we have some other light shapers like the Honeycomb Grids, the Fresnel. I will start talking about the Pico box and so on and so on. Right, that's what happens today. After each of these light shapers, I will make a short break. I will check on the questions. You can type in your questions on the right of the screen in the chat. A colleague for me sitting upstairs in the offices, he will filter the questions for me. He will answer what he can answer and actually filter the questions for me. And after, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes, I will have a quick look at the questions. So I'm just going to filter them right now. All right. So first of all, I would like to introduce to you the Picolite itself. So it's a very small lamp head, pretty much the size of a drink tin. It's a lamp head which has a max power of 1600 joules or watt seconds. By the way, this is the same. So this means we can use it, of course, on a Scoro 1600S Wi-Fi at full power all the way up to 10. You can also use it on a strong Scoro power pack, which has 3200 joules. But in this situation, only up to power 9, which is as well refers to 1600 joules. A question that came in the morning during the first session of the same webinar, can we only use it on a Scoro? No, you can use it on all earlier power packs as well. Let's say if you still have graphite power packs in your studio, even Primo power packs further in the past, and let's say as well a rather new product, which is a sensor power pack. Yes, it works. It has modeling light. It flashes, all perfect, no problems. So for many, many years, decades of compatibility. You can even use it with the battery-operated move pack. In this situation, however, only the flash, not the modeling light. So the only restriction there is if you use a battery-operated power pack, you can still flash it at any power setting with any special programming of the power pack, but no modeling light. Good. Before we start with the really interesting accessories, I would show you some of the more standard accessories. And this is first of all the barn doors. Let me unshare the screen here again. Okay, so I just bring this a little bit closer to you, checking what I showed to you. So we have the barn doors. Of course, I will show the mounting, how these light shapers are mounted on the Picolite right later on. The very interesting part of the barn doors, of course, is first of all that we can actually limit the light angle, that actually we can protect like this the front lens of our camera, that we have any stray light, or we can provide any light hitting the background or an area where it should not go to. However, the precision of barn doors is also a little bit limited, so I don't use them too often. Most of the time, I go for these accessories back there. They are much more precise. A nice feature, however, of the barn doors is that we can actually fix here any color filters, or if we have by accident too much light, we can as well mount here a gray filter to reduce the light, or we can, of course, use a diffusion filter, color filters, and so on and so on. So there are barn doors available for the Picolite as well, and as well a pulsar adapter. So it's just the normal Picolite mounting on the backside, and in the front the pulsar mount. So you can, if you really were running out of normal lamp heads in the studio, you can use the Picolite as well in combination with a normal reflector, with your soft boxes. In Para, not too much, because in the Para we need an external flash tube. But let's say for standard light shapers, the Picolite is absolutely usable, with one limitation. Of course, the Picolite is an integrated flash tube, right? So there's no flash tube out here. So it's not a light source inside the softbox where the light goes to the walls of the softbox and illuminates the entire interior of a softbox or a reflector. So the light distribution, of course, is calculated, is optimized for these external flash tubes and not for the Picolite. However, let's say our softboxes, they are designed with a front diffuser, but behind the front diffuser we have an intermediate diffuser. So the softboxes are a little bit more center weighted. They are not as even as they could be with a Pulsar G or with a Unilight, but absolutely usable for, let's say, normal portrait things. There you don't really see a difference. However, I would rather not use them on very tricky stuff like still lifes with large shiny areas. There I would rather go for the optimized light shapers. Okay, good. Let me show quickly construction of the Picolite. So from here on, it's just the same plug-in on the power pack side. I have it connected to a Scoro 1600S down there. It has a clear protecting glass. Hope you can see this. You can see all through into the flash tube. There's a spring that fixes it, so I can easily take this spring out. And then we have here a protection glass, which is, I don't know if you can see this, very slightly yellowish. With this, we correct the color, the color temperature of the flash tube, which is a little bit too cold. So we compensate it like this. I will mention this already now, otherwise I forget it later on. Depending on the accessory, we have here the Fresnel. Together with the Fresnel, there comes a matte protecting glass. Why is this? When we have optical systems such as the Fresnel, such as the projecting attachment, we do nothing else than projecting a picture of our light source. And if the light source is a flash tube which is ring light shaped or omega shaped, so it's a lot of light in a circle. In the middle we have the modeling light, and if we project a picture of this light source with an optical system, we would get a very uneven illumination. So we would get a circular light, like a halo, with a dark center. Okay, and that's not what we want. So as soon as we use optical systems, such as the Fresnel and the projecting attachment, we are using a matte protecting glass. Then this is backlit with the flash tube or the modeling light. And this is the new light source, very evenly lit. And then we project this. And then we have a satisfying, very even coverage with these light shapers as well. And there's a nice side effect. Because we have the modeling light and the flashlight behind this matte protecting glass, that's the new light source. So actually the difference, there's almost no difference from the modeling light, what we see with our eyes, and what we shoot later on with the flash tube firing. So we get very, very close with the modeling light to what we receive later on in the photograph when we expose it with flash. All right, so I would very soon start to talk about the first specialized accessory, which is going to be the Pico box. But very quickly, I would like to show you one setup where I actually used the Picolite without anything else, so just the Picolite. For this, I'm going to open Photoshop quickly. Photoshop is hiding down here somewhere. Going to share this with you. All right, and then open this photograph here. Pull this to Photoshop. All right, there we go. Okay. So that's one of the few sets where I actually used the Picolite, let's say naked, without any additional light shapers. So it's a small object, maybe some 20 by 25 centimeters. And I just used the Picolite, which is here on the lower left, to illuminate a little bit the hips and the feet and the knees of this person holding this bath here of this Egyptian statue. So here I work with a very short distance from the light source to the object. So I use the natural fall off of the light. So that's why I didn't really need any additional light shapers for it. However, as I said, this is an exception. So most of the time, I really use them with additional light shapers. Yes. Okay, I just hear that we have. You mean when I share the screen? Yeah. Okay. So let me try this again. I just hear that you cannot see my screen properly. So let me finish the screen sharing. Sorry for that. Photoshop. I want to share this. Okay, looks fine with me, looks fine here. Maybe somebody could write in the comment if you can see the screen. Can't see the image, okay. Looks good now. Okay, thank you. I did the same twice, so don't know what happens. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so anyway, I'm going to open the next photograph because that's the one without any accessories, and I just would like to show you how the final shot looks like when I pull this over. Okay, so there we go. So that's the final photograph. So just these little bit of highlights down here, the reflection on the right hand of the little guy. That's a Picolite without any accessories. But as I said, I'm going definitely to change now, and I will go to talk about the accessories. So unshare, and there we go again. All right. So what will I do? I will always first present you the light shaper, about the construction, about the speciality of it, and then again we will have a look at some of the photographs that I actually shot with this specific light shaper that explains the light quality a little better. So it is, you see it if I have it in my hand, you can guess more or less the size. It's about 15 by 25 centimeters. It's a hard box, so it's an acrylic light shaper. But it's not just the box and an acrylic diffuser. There's a lot of, I would say, love inside. Okay, we have here these counter reflectors. I hope you can see these. All right, 2 back reflectors, so that the light that comes from the Picolite is actually redirected to the edges. So like this, we achieve a more even illumination of the front diffuser. However, it was not perfect enough. So that's why there's even an intermediate diffuser. I hope you can see this. So we have the 2 metallic reflectors, and then there's an intermediate diffuser, which of course pre-diffuses the light a little bit. That's mounted with these screws. So we have first a distribution to the light to the left and to the right, and the light that tries to go straight down and create a hot spot, that this light is diffused with the intermediate diffuser. And with this construction, we have unbelievable even light from the very corner to the center of the Pico box. We have just a light fall off of 1/10 of an f-stop. So it's unbelievable precision. Of course, Very nice if we have to create dominant, sharp-edged, even reflections on shiny objects like a phone, like on a beer bottle, like on a gold watch, like in jewelry, and so on and so on. So if you are really talking about small setups where we need not the highlight of a textile softbox, but where we really need the absolute clean, sharp-edged reflection of absolutely even light source, then that's the moment to use this guy. The Pico box can be used with any protecting glass, so it must not be one of the matte ones, so that's why it's not delivered with it. So the Pico box just comes like that. How do we mount it? Again, I would like to come a little closer for this to illustrate this. So here we have this ring here, this ring, and this ring goes in here. I hope you can see this. Okay, there are two small openings, and this ring actually goes in here, and then it cannot fall off. So let me show this to you. So I bring in the Picolite here from the top. Maybe if I open it, it goes more easily. Then I turn it a little bit in either direction, like this. And the Pico box, as it's a little heavier equipment, it has an additional safety knob here. Okay, so actually it cannot, even if I turn it, it cannot fall off. Okay, if I want to fix it in position, I do it like this, and then it's absolutely fixed. We did this additional safety feature because maybe you mount it on top of a very fragile object, and we really, even if you turn it, we don't want this accessory to fall down and possibly destroy your set. So there's a double security with this accessory. To take it off, obviously, just the opposite way. Opening here, then you go here to the opening. I can't go any further because otherwise it would fall off. And that's why I pull it back here. And then I can take it off nicely and controlled. Okay, all the other accessories work exactly the same way, but they do not have the second security, so they only have one safety feature. Only the heavy one with the Pico box has two. Right. So let's try this again with the screen sharing. I hope this time I have less problems. I always do the same, so I don't know why it did not show properly. So open Photoshop, go here, choose the window and share. I have here an iPad. Just let me check if this shows up properly. Yes, exactly. Good. So next photograph from the Pico box is this. I actually can open two pictures at the same time, so we save some time. All right, so this is an example, this and this, from an ebook that I just produced, or we produced here at Broncolor. It's an ebook illustrating 50 setups of the same egg, same camera position, same egg, same perspective, everything but different light shapers. Actually, I used all the light shapers from Broncolor, and every light shaper, especially the ones from the Picolite, because it's a small object, this egg, I always show the behind the scenes and then what you actually the final result. So this is the result from the Pico box, or one of the two photographs of this egg with the Pico box. By the way, my colleague who was just warning me about the screen sharing will share the link with you, how you can download this ebook about this egg, these 50 eggs, 50 setups, 50 eggs for free from the Broncolor site. So it's actually, it's free educational inspiration about using light shapers. So as you can see in the setup, the Pico box is tilted away a little bit. It's not facing the egg directly. It's tilted away a little bit more towards the camera. And this allows me to show the shape of the egg as well on the right side, where actually the light is coming from. So here we have a little bit of a gradation, and then the light becomes brighter, and then on the other side it fades away into the shadows. And because I want to have as many gradations as possible, I just added a little reflector here on the left side in order that my egg is fading back to a slightly brighter contour and not just into black. So, but in the end, it's just one single light, and in this situation, it's a Pico box coming from the right side. Next two, I will show these two more examples coming from the book. Here, as you can see on the egg, the top part of the egg is actually completely black. So the light must come from a lower perspective. And that's actually the explanation is in the setup. So I use here the Pico box as a light emitting extension of the table. The Pico box again is angled in a way that there's no direct light hitting the table. So the light only hits the egg with a gradation to the top. So it's because it's so small and so compact, you can place it in crazy positions in your set and create very interesting, unusual lighting situations. Then I go to open two more shots. It's one of my, not this guy first. First of all, we have a look at her. So I mentioned several times that the Pico box or the Picolite system is for small objects, but of course not only. Why not use the Pico box or a Fresnel spot for a portrait? Because a portrait is actually as well something rather small set. So why not use the control of the Pico box on a beauty shot? It's a very nice approach to lighting if we use equipment, let's say the wrong way around, or if we use product tools on a product tools on a portrait. On the other hand, why not set up a big para, which is originally a fashion tool, on a food shot? Okay, if you use equipment in a different, unusual way, this pushes us photographers to open our eyes again. That we don't go the same way all the time, that we always have the same lighting moods. So if we dare to use equipment wrong, then we have to open our eyes. We have to decide again, is this looking good or is this nonsense what I'm doing here? So that's why whenever we design a new light shaper, I use it on a portrait, I use it on a full body shot, I use it on a still life, and so on and so on. And like this, I can learn about the light shaper and find out where does it make sense. So how is the setup here? For this, it's always a good trick to have a proper zoom in on the eye. What you see on the model's left eye is the reflection of the Pico box. This little gray line here, that's just a cardboard that protects the camera. Why does the camera have to be protected? I will show you the setup quickly on me. So imagine I'm the model. Not easy to imagine, I know, but give it a try. So the Pico box, you're the photographers, and the Pico box would be in this specific situation. So it's the narrow side is left, right, and the long side is direction to the camera. Now the Pico box is again not straight onto the model. So it's not like this, it's like that, even angled away a little bit, which means the front head of the model goes a little bit into the shadow. That's how I can achieve a gradation to the top of the head. Okay, so most of the time it's much more interesting to work with any fancy angles of a light shaper and not always aim to the object directly. But when I do this, of course, there's a lot of light hitting the camera, and that's why I mounted here a little bit of a black cardboard to protect my front lens. Otherwise, I have too much stray light. From the left to the right, it's very narrow. What is the effect of this? So let's go, after this explanation, let's go back to the portrait again. So zooming out. So you see the gradation, what I explained, that this goes from here upwards, so that the head is actually fading into dark, that it's not the brightest part, which is the closest to to the light, but it turns a little bit darker here. And because the Picolite is so very, the Pico box is so very narrow, it's more narrow than the head, I get these nice dark contours left and right of the face, shaping the face very, very nicely. If I have a beautiful face with a beautiful skin, I think it's my job as a photographer to modulate this face. Beauty photography is misunderstood as soft photography too many times. So often when I say, okay, we are going to make a beauty shot, they bring all the soft boxes they have and tons of reflections. This is just killing everything. I don't feel any texture of the model's skin. I don't have any forms remaining. So beauty photography has nothing to do with soft photography. Beauty photography has something to do with showing the quality of the skin. We talk about makeup here as well, to shape a beautiful face, that I see these shapes. And what is better to do this than very controlled light shapers, like in this situation? Of course, if you have a model like this one, you might know this guy as well from some how-to videos. And there are, by the way, talk about how-to videos, there are a lot of, actually 31 videos online already that I produced together with Carl Taylor that you see here on the photograph. And my colleague from the upstairs from the office, he will share the link to these how-to videos right now with you. So if you have nothing to do on a rainy afternoon now in fall, in winter, just look at some of these videos and learn more about lighting. Right, but actually it's the same, it's exactly the same light shaping idea behind this. So as well, a very small light, more narrow than this guy's head, tilted towards the camera, that I don't have a highlight here on his bald forehead. Forgive me, Carl, but it was a very useful application like this. Right, so we are back here. So this was the Pico box. Let's have a look at the next light shaper. Anyway, what is here? What kind of light shapers do we have? We have a small softbox. We have a small Fresnel. We have a small grid, and we have a small projector. And we have small barn doors and so on. That's nothing new. Okay, we have softboxes. We have the Fluter, big Fresnel. We have grids for every softbox. We have grids for every normal reflector. Nothing new. We have projecting attachments as well in our range of light shapers. So that's nothing new. The new thing and the fun thing about this is that we shrink down the sizes of these light shapers. Why? If I would like to illuminate a very small area, let's say in a food set, or let's say a jewelry photography, I have a watch here and I would like just to have a point light on a small area of this watch, even when I take the most narrow honeycomb grid on a normal reflector. A normal reflector has maybe a diameter of 20-25 centimeters. What's coming out of the normal reflector in the center is very, very even. Okay, only the grids only start working on the right and on the left, but what's in between, what's coming vertically out of the honeycomb grid, that's even light. And if I have a tiny set here that I would like to illuminate very selectively, and I have this huge, compared to the setup, I have this huge normal reflector, just like, bam. It's all illuminated evenly, probably much too powerful, no light control. So shrinking down standard light shapers like softbox, like Fresnel, like grids, like projecting attachments in size gives us nothing else than much more light control on small objects. However, you will see that especially the Fresnel spot is an exception. I use the Fresnel as well on larger sets. So let's talk about this guy. Repetition, optical system, which means I have to use a matte protecting glass. How is this mounted? You just put in the protecting glass like this, because the lamp head is slightly upward. It stays like that. I put in the spring, and I have to do it again, because I moved it. I could put it even further away. Then this would make things even more difficult. Okay, try it again. Right, okay, there we go. And now this protecting glass stays and is ready for the Fresnel spot. Same idea. These two openings here have to be at the right spot. I tilt it a little bit, fix this one, and not falling off. You can go vertical, all safe. With these adjustments here, I can change the light angle. Let me show this to you from a little bit closer by. So we are not actually changing the lamp head's position inside the Fresnel. We are changing the position of the Fresnel. Okay, so now it's all the way out, which means it's completely focused, very, very narrow light angle. When I bring it closer inside, then the light angle opens a little bit. I have a wider light angle. So it's a seamless adjustment from super spot to a wider light spread. Picolite is optimized for small sets. As I said, we shrunk down the size of the light shapers, and this means we have never the problem of not having enough light. So when you look in here, there's something quite surprising. Okay, like this you see it. There's a very small opening that actually allows the light to hit the front lens. If you work with optical systems, reflectors are optical systems, especially the polished ones. And reflectors, optical systems like lenses, stuff like this, all these lenses, they have a focus point. A reflector has a focus point and not a focus plane or something. So if we want to have precise light shaping, it's always the easiest if we have the smallest possible light source. Unfortunately, as you have seen, looking into the Picolite, the flash tube has a certain size. Now the matte protecting glass has a certain size, and so we increase artificially the light source with the matte protecting glass, and this is nothing else than a loss of quality. Quality control, exactly. So we optimize the light shaper here differently by blocking most of the light, which is not precise light. We increase a lot the control of the light, so we increase a lot the quality, and we pay for it with the quantity. So we actually destroy a lot of light, but the remaining light is just perfect. And because we are using the Picolite most of the time over rather short distances, we have by far enough light for this. Okay, so even when I work, let's say with this, I work over maybe 1.5, 2 meters very easily. Even on heavily reduced power, I have a f22 and f32. So power is never an issue with the Picolite because you use it over short distances. That's why we could focus 100% on the light quality and less on the quantity. However, on the examples, you will see as well that you can easily use this as well on a statue, which is half body size. Why is the Fresnel the accessories that you can use over larger distances? Because it focuses the light. So light that tries to go left and right is not burnt. For example, let's talk about the grids already. So when we look through a honeycomb grid, so the screen wants to calibrate, but that's not the moment. Okay, so the light that passes through a grid horizontal or straight can pass, and as soon as the light tries to go left and right, the grids are blocking the light. So honeycomb grids, they are focusing the light by burning the light that tries to go left and right. However, if you have a Fresnel lens, that's nothing else than a collecting lens. It redirects the light. So there's no light loss due to focus. At the contrary, the light that tries to go left and right is refocused to the scene. So that's why we have a much higher light output on the Fresnel compared to the grids. The other difference is on the grids, the light fall off. Once we reach the limit of the light angle, the grids are fading away slowly. Again, depending on the light angle, we have all the light in the center, then slowly less, while a Fresnel spot is very evenly lit, and then the light fall off, we call it the edge transfer, it's much sharper from a Fresnel spot compared to a grid. Okay, enough theoretical blah blah. Let's have a look at photographs again. So screen, I would like to show you Photoshop. Right, so still this portrait of Caroline is here, and now opening new photographs, talking about the Fresnel. First of all, again, 2 photographs from the book. So you see, that's what I explained before. If I would like to have a spot effect, like a theatrical effect on something as small as an egg, if I try to do this with a normal reflector and even with the most narrow grids, I just don't get it. I can't do it because the light shaper is just too big. So we are shrinking the light shaper down. Additionally, I used it fully focused. You see these focusing tools knobs here. They are all the way out. So the light angle is on as narrow as possible, just vertically down. Super nice, precise spotlight on the egg. I have more eggs, but I think that's not interesting anymore. So let's have a look at something else for a change. Here, this flower in the glass of water, 1 light, and no, of course the background light as well. But on the flower, there's just 1 light. Guess what? It's Picolite with a Fresnel spot attachment. So all the light you see here, all this dominant light with the strong shadows here, this is all just 1 light. And then the speciality of the Fresnel, as explained before, is this very quick fall off. So imagine that this is a flower of a couple of centimeters, and here we have almost all the light, and then just 2 centimeters higher, it's basically black. Okay, this you would not get with a larger light shaper, and you would not receive this quick light fall off as well with Honeycomb Grids. This gradation here would be more slowly. What else do we have with the Fresnel? We have this example from this black perfume bottle on actually a gray piece of paper, and the Pico light with the Fresnel spot attachment is used here for the background illumination. If you have a tiny object, I mean, this bottle is a little smaller than an iPhone, so it's very tricky to illuminate the background behind it only, because again, a normal reflector would be, I don't know, 10 times bigger and would illuminate much more. Never I would receive such gradations in all directions. So that's why I took a different approach here. I put the bottle just a few centimeters above this dark gray paper. I backlit it through a hole in the background. I backlit it with the Picolite and the Fresnel spot, and then behind the black bottle, I just put a little bit of white cardboard that reflects the light. So the light that comes actually through the table is reflected from a white cardboard, which is below the bottle, and so in a way, the object creates its own halo with this reflection. Okay, here, of course, as well, it's essential that we have tiny but powerful little light shapers at the right spot. I have here, 2 more examples I would like to share. I just opened them all at the same time. Okay, so that's one of the bigger sets I explained before. I was invited at the Skulpturenhalle in Basel, so it's part of the museum for antiques here in the city to shoot a couple of sculptures. And if you look at the setup, it's indirect light up to the white ceiling of this museum hall. I have a soft box on the object as a main light. I have a soft box on the background in the combination with the diffused light, not really a lot of texture. But it was essential that I have kind of like a portrait light as well in the set. So that's why I added here on one side, I gave a little bit more punch with this normal reflector and the grids. But for the tiny faces in the setup, I added a Picolite. Okay, so it's a setup of several square meters. Nevertheless, due to the power and the focusing ability of the Picolite with the Fresnel spot attachment, it was absolutely strong enough and dominant enough even in such a big set, and produced me here these portrait lights. So these just more texture in the stone here, these shadows under the eye. The guy stealing actually his girlfriend, I don't know, actually gets as well like a classic portrait light. So it's actually Theseus raubt, also Theseus is stealing Antiope. That's why I say that he's stealing his girlfriend. That's why I came up with this story. All right, good. Okay, so Pico box, Fresnel spot attachment can be used on larger sets as well with no problem. And then last but not least, I would never like to shoot all the broncolor advertising that I do without these wonderful small precise toys or tools. Let's say this small detail of the handle of the Ceros lamphead. Again, this gradation here, we have the full light power here on the back, the full light power that actually illuminates the lamphead here without hitting the broncolor writing at all, that I have a high contrast there. But at the same time, I get the huge contrast from the center of the light. A few centimeters further down, there's just black. There's just nothing there. So this spot effect, this precision, it's really unique to the Fresnel spot attachment. Right. So, guess this was it about this accessory. Yes, exactly. So we go back to the studio. All right, good. Sorry, just rearranging my windows here. Okay, good. So next one. So we talked about the Pico box, Fresnel we had a look at, and now the next would be the Honeycomb Grids. Again, I come a little closer to introduce it to you. So the Honeycomb Grids is, first of all, it's a snoot. I mean, by taking away the grids further away from the light source, the light is already limited a little bit. And then, so after these 15 centimeters, we add the well-known grids, wide grids, medium grids for a more narrow light angle. Can I hold it the right way? Yes, medium grids. And in the end, the super fine grids where there's really just a very tiny tilting and there's no more light leaving the reflector. If even the most narrow grids are not precise enough, you can combine it with aperture masks. So you can put actually the aperture mask in front of it. This does not really change the light angle. The light angle of the grid is about 10 degrees. But of course, if we start with a smaller light source and then have 10 degrees, of course, it's still more precision than if we start with a larger light shape with 10 degrees. Okay, so if it's really about having a tiny spot effect with a nice gradations, not as sharp edged as with the Fresnel, then this snoot with Honeycomb Grids is the first choice. You just throw in what you need. So let's say I use always the aperture mask first behind the grids, and then there's just a simple spring holding everything in position that it cannot fall off. So we have a super tiny, super precise honeycomb grid. Of course, this construction invites us in a way to throw in as well for, color filters if we need it. But I would recommend that you do not do this because the Picolite is actually, it's quite a closed construction. We have a ventilation, so it sucks in the air from the back, it blows out the air in the front. And if we have a color filter here, of course, this would block color air circulation. So do not use color filters or any filters, of course, in here, because it would overheat your Picolite. If you have to do it anyway, please at least shut off the modeling light. If you work on a reduced flash power, it can survive it, but if you have to see it, just switch it on very, very quickly, but then immediately switch it off again, that actually your lamp head is no overheating. What happens if it's overheating? It just goes on a thermal break, so you cannot break it, you cannot destroy it. But of course, at the moment when you want to expose, when you want to shoot, for sure at this moment, the modeling light goes for a small break, goes for a thermal break, and then that's very annoying. So that's why I always have it off when I don't use the modeling light, and I just switch it on temporarily when I really want to see the light and adjust my angles. Okay, so that's actually already it about this the honeycomb grids, but I would like to let you see a couple of photographs, and then I would like to answer questions. I promised that I do this after every light shaper, and of course I forgot it, but I will do this right after finishing the explanation about the grids. So sharing with you again Photoshop, hoping that the computer is doing what I want. Looks like, yep. Okay, so we are here with the Wabe. Actually, I just want to show two things here. Just fighting a little bit here with my windows. All right, now I have it kind of under control. Okay, that's not what I want to show first. First, I want to show you this one. Again, my famous egg. So if you haven't downloaded the ebook about egg photography, 50 examples, every example explained with the final result and the setup, you find the link in the chat. So it's a very small object. Again, it's an egg, I don't know, 6-7 centimeters high. And thanks to the honeycomb grids, most probably narrow honeycomb grids with a narrow aperture mask, I can create here a gradation on such a small object. A gradation from the lower end to the higher end. So it's from dark to bright, back to dark, gradations left and right. So an unbelievable control, an unbelievable three-dimensionality of this egg. And thanks to the small light shaper, you know, a small light shaper makes the light harder. We have a lot of texture on something that looks almost like untextured. We get lots of details here, thanks to the tininess of this light shaper. If you look at this photograph, that's as well shot with a Picolite. Now I was just talking about texture, and here, if we zoom in the middle, there is no texture, okay? There's not even a shadow there. So this light distribution looks like the light distribution of a ring flash, which is all around the camera, no shadows. But if I would illuminate this with a ring flash, I would of course not get these darker areas here. So how is this done? I used here a combination of, again, I have to close some of the windows later on, otherwise I lose control here completely. So I have the Pico light with the small grids, narrow aperture mask. And then I pre-program a sequence on the Scoro, 30 flashes. So the Picolite fires 30 flashes. And during, then I close, I shut down the lights in the studio. I open the camera, maybe during 20, 30 seconds. And then I move this Picolite in the set while it's flashing a sequence. So, puck, 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 puck. Okay, so I have 10 flashes in the center of this artichoke, and then I have another 20 flashes on the peripheric. So it's a light distribution of a ring flash, shadowless, but the light control of a Picolite. So again, that's what I mentioned at the beginning. All these tools, we should as well treat them as toys. We should try to find out, oh, what can it do when I use it on a different object? What can it do if I fire it not only once but 30 times, and if I move it in the set? So all these things, yeah, it's a creative work, and even on the technical side with our lightings, we should work creatively, and that's one of these examples. Right, questions. Almost I went on with the projecting attachment. This will be the last one I talk about, but first I would like to answer your questions now. Okay, that's, I have to filter it by questions. Oh, there are no questions. No, now I see them, sorry. Can you talk about when you would use the different sizes of grid? I don't have a lot of experience using grids and would like to understand when to use the different ones. Depends on the area you want to illuminate. It's nothing else than a reduction of the light angle. So let's say the normal reflector is called a P70. It has a light angle of 70 degrees. Okay, and then the honeycomb grids, they limit the light angle to 30 degrees, 20 degrees, 10 degrees. So if you can, let's say if you have to use your light rather far away and you want to have a tiny point on the object or on the background, of course you have to use the narrow grids, because if you use wide grids, the background would be illuminated very evenly again. It has as well something to do with the focal length. So if you use a very long focal length, your picture angle is very narrow, so you're actually shooting a small part of the background only. And in this situation, if you still want to have a gradation on the small area on the background that you're shooting, of course you need a very narrow grid. Otherwise you don't see this gradation. On the other hand, if you shoot with a wide angle lens and you're still illuminating with your super narrow grid the background, you just have somewhere on the background a white point, and all the rest is black. So in this situation, you go again for a larger grid, for a wider grid. But I can't give you any rules. It's just the different grids, they decide, or they give you a different light angle. So look at the spot you create. If you think the spot is too wide, take a more narrow one or get closer. If you think that the spot is too narrow, use a larger grid or go further away. So distance and grids, they go hand in hand, but as well the focal length has influence. So in the end, don't follow any rules. Don't think, oh, with this focal length at this distance, I probably should use that. No, just take a test shot and then you see, oh, the spot is too big or too large or too small, and then you change it. Okay, so I don't want to give any rules. It's much easier than you think. Just open your eyes, just look what happens and correct accordingly. Do you prefer to use grids or Pico spot? How can you get a softer edge transfer on the Pico spot? Probably with a Pico spot, you probably talk about this one. And you ask me how I get this light characteristic from this one. These are two different light characteristics, and that's exactly the reason why they are there. So there is no softer edge on this one. It is a sharper edge. And that's the advantage of this one. And the advantage of this one is that it's a softer edge. So that's not a quality thing. Okay, these are just two different ones. Do I want to have a center-weighted even gradation? Then it's this one. Do I want to have an even spot and a sharp gradation? Then it's this one. Do I need more light? Then it's this one. Do I need the tiniest possible spot? Then it's this one. Okay, so I don't want to take a decision. They both have their justification. They are both great. They are just different. Okay, motorbike or car? Depends. Okay, when it's raining, it's the car. When the sun is out, it's the motorbike. Same here. Okay, do the adjustment levers of the Fresnel screw in out lock the position? No, they don't lock the position, but they stay. So even in the vertical position, let's say like this, you don't have to be afraid if you shake it, that it's actually changing the position. You can do whatever you want. On one side, they move very, very smoothly. Okay, but once they are in position, they stay. Okay, so no reason to lock them. No need. Okay, this was the question. I imagine the modeling light can get quite hot. You're absolutely right. Is the matte glass tempered frosted can take the heat? Yes, of course it can take the heat. The handle is. You seem to handle it very carefully. Will it shatter if you drop it? What are we talking about? The modeling light. if I drop the lamp head like this on the concrete floor, it will break, of course. I mean, it's not planned for this. It's not a problem if I take it off the stand and I want to put it on the table. Oh, oops. Okay, I put this a little bit too harsh. That's definitely not a problem. It's a tool. The modeling light is still on. Okay, so we can actually use these lights. We don't have to handle them very carefully, but nevertheless, it's a tungsten modeling light of 150 watts inside. If you throw it on the table, if you throw it on the ground while the modeling light is super hot, then it will break. Okay, not the lamp head, but the modeling light is rather fragile. The flash tube as well is super heavy duty, but not the modeling light. So when I do heavy manipulations, like putting it on a stand, again, I just switch it off quickly, put it on the stand, fix it, switch it on, no problem at all. So if you use it with common sense, they do a great job. They don't break that easily. But of course, if the modeling light is on full power, if the lamp is on for quite a long time, it's extremely hot, and then you drop it. I mean, self-explaining that it drops at that it breaks at that moment. Why did you use the glass at the front of the Pico light before using the Fresnel attachment? Why did you use the glass at the front of the Picolite before using the Fresnel attachment? And won't that block the airflow? Okay. I mean, no. The protecting glass, the protecting glass, the diffuse protecting glass, that's just a little smaller in diameter, so the air can actually flow around the glass. Otherwise, it would be completely useless. In here as well, we have a lot of ventilation openings that actually the air can circulate. The one that's most closed, that's why I mentioned the filters don't close this one, because there's not a lot where the hot air can go out. So if we close it here with a filter, then we run into a problem. But you feel it if you put your hand there and you have to take your hand off, then you probably should switch off the modeling light. But if you do this, again, just use common sense, and then this light does exactly what you want it to do. Okay, speaking about the spectacular shot with the matches. To see really. Okay. Good. Talking about the shot with the matches, I will come back to this anyway and show you, probably answer this question later on, just right now, live, when we talk about the last accessory, which is the projecting attachment. Okay. Together with the projecting attachment, let's put these things away. You get this in the box. You get aperture masks in the box. Like a slide holder or anything you create yourself, do it yourself, and then around aperture masks if you have to project the circular lights. What's as well integrated is these templates. That's a tricky one for you to see. These templates I can limit. Maybe I go like that. I can limit the light here. So I can close them and only leave open a very narrow line, for example. Okay. So I'm just going to project a very, very tiny light. So with this, talking about this picture of the matches again, for those that don't remember, to be honest, I don't remember if I showed it. So this one, that's exactly this setting. I was using nothing else than the projecting attachment with the templates almost completely closed. And this allowed me to illuminate a match only and not hitting anything else on the set. So light control, pixel by pixel almost. Exactly. So I can basically use the templates for any graphical shape, like triangles, like lines, squares. If I need round forms, I go for the aperture masks, the round ones, And if I need something else like slides, I will show you later on examples as well with slides, you can go with the slide holder. Okay, I think it's time to see actually the original light of this tool. Before I show you more photographs, I just turned the LED away a little bit, the LED that's illuminating the scene, that you can see this light a little better. So same way, I open here, put it in the right position, turn it a few degrees, click and save. Modeling light on. Okay, and now I'm going to adjust it. Let's say you see the size of this envelope. I just would like to illuminate here now let's say the German text. So I bring it down. I go for, do you see this? No, you don't see it. So I give you full modeling light. Okay, and now with these templates, first I take it like this. I can close here. And then I would like to have it sharp. So I go to focus it. Now it's still a little bit too large. I go even more narrow. And not that long. Okay. And now I can bring the text here. Of course, normally it's the other way around. That you bring the light to the object. Now I brought the object to the text. All right. Good. So I'm going to limit the modeling light now again. And this allows me to take the camera and to bring it closer to let you see what I actually do now. Okay, so I hope this is more or less sharp. So that's the light of the Picolite now with the projecting attachment. So I'm really able to illuminate. Maybe it's just 1.5 millimeters, and maybe left right we have like 5 centimeters. So it's super tiny. If you look at it on my hand, it's super precise. If you need it more precise, you can even go thinner with this. And the beauty is that our matte protecting glass guarantees that what I see with the modeling light corresponds 100% to what I get later on with the flashlight. And that's just unreached light control, especially from a flash. There are some other lighting accessories around in the market, but they are not flashing. So this is by far the most precise flash tool there is. I'm absolutely convinced about that. As I said, if I don't need it, modeling light off. And now I would like to show you a few more examples. So remember what I'm using. I'm using the templates. I'm using aperture masks, round aperture masks that go into the projector as well. And I use the slide holder. And let's have a look what I can actually do with all this. Just give me a few seconds because I have 100 windows open here. Otherwise I lose. Okay, now I should be more or less under control again. Good, so closing the things with the grids, sharing the screen, choosing the right window, which is Photoshop, share. All right, good. And then opening my new examples. So I would like to show you, now we are talking about the projecting attachment. So first of all, I'm going to bore you again with X. So out of camera, this shot, no manipulation, no Photoshop, it's out of camera to illuminate the egg like this. Behind the scenes, actually just using the templates, projecting attachment from the right. The template's positioned in a way that the belly or the front of the egg is a little bit in the shadow. And like this, I could actually create this, this amazing light distribution here on the egg. Closing it, open the next one. So I leave you in peace now with these egg things. And I would like to show you here a series of photographs, these 3 here. Pull them over to Photoshop, and there we go. Exactly. So what does this have to do with Picolite? Nothing, not a lot. But if you look at the other one, not at this one, at this one. Yes, it has to do something with Picolite because it's a light tattoo. Okay, so that's actually the proof that the model has no tattoo. And now I add the tattoo with lighting. What is the setup behind it? Here I would like to zoom in a little bit. So here you can see it. It's just a foil with this tattoo on it that I put into the projecting attachment that projects actually this tattoo on the body. This was just a trial before the model showed up, and then this light actually finishes here somewhere around the neck, the one coming from the right, and then there's the Pico light with a Fresnel spot taking over. So we have all this here, that's actually the projecting attachment, and then somewhere here around the neck, the Pico box, the Fresnel spot takes over, and you see it as well in the eyes that there's just a tiny small point in the eyes, super harsh shadows here under the chin, just left of the nose from the Fresnel. So it's actually an entire portrait, including special effect with done nothing else but that than two Picolites and a little bit of hair light here because she has very dark hair, a little bit of hair light here with a narrow softbox with grids. Okay, so again, Picolite, yes, for products, but just go open-minded. What else can I do? Oh, I could maybe create a light tattoo. Absolutely possible with these tools. You can go full body as well. So this is a slide now, a slide from Sagrada Familia in Barcelona, black and white slide that I projected onto the body, and yeah, just works fine as well. What else do we have with the projecting attachment? Just maybe two more examples. First, a classic example from still life photography. We choose these two. I need this one. And where's the last one? Here. Okay, good. So 4 pictures, pull them into Photoshop. All right, so that's the entire setup. So what do we see? Camera, then diffusing acrylic plates, Pico light with the Fresnel spot that creates a gradation for the shiny parts of the watch. And then these gradations, they were too tiny, too small, so I amplified the gradations a little bit with a low power P65 behind it as well with grids. On the other side, just a bare bulb very close to acrylic to have a graduated fill-in light. And then what you see just above the camera, that's the Picolite with the projecting attachment and the round aperture masks in it. So why this? This shot is only with the soft light, so only the gradations on top and in front of the watch, but the center of the watch is a little dull. Okay, so I did add some shine to the center of the watch. Okay, how did I do this? By adding one light that does this. Okay, so it's just the aperture mask, the round aperture mask, fully focused exactly from the size and from the focusing that it only hits the very center of the watch. So I add this plus this gives this. Okay, it's just a combination. Most of the time with jewelry photography, you need, on one side, you need graduated soft lights to work out the shiny parts. But if you have, like in this situation, a textured dial, you need some hard light as well that brings out the texture, the brilliance and the color of this. Because in this in the soft light setup, of course, the color saturation is something completely different. It's grayish, it's not nice. And the client definitely wants to see this. Compared to that, it's just 10 minutes work to position the Picolite very precisely, but then out of camera, you get this amazing precise brilliance in the center, and you can zoom in and you really get there a lot of texture. Okay, last but not least, again, I would like to show something else, not another still life, but I would like to show you a model shot. again, here, projecting attachment. Why the projecting attachment? Because I wanted to see the waves of the water reflected on the model. If I do this with a diffused light, nothing happens. So I need a hard light on the water surface, but I wanted to have a soft light or even a diffused light on the rest of the body. So what I did, I used this setup. Picolite with projecting attachment only illuminates the water in front of the model, creating harsh reflections on the body, while the rest is illuminated indirectly with normal reflectors up to the ceiling on the other side with double blue filters and just a little bit of backlight on the shoulders and the dark hair of the model. But the reason why I use the projecting attachment for Picolite in this situation is that I have a hard light on the water surface that creates these dominant reflections of the water on the body, while I could keep all the rest of the setup completely diffused. Right. Okay, so let me just check very, very quickly on the shots I wanted to share with you. Yes, these are all. And then last but not least, the last two photographs, I just opened them right now. And here we have combinations of two different light sources. It's a bottle. Let's show. I show you the final first. So it's a bottle with a shiny area. Again, the Prada bottle, very polished, black but super shiny up here, and the lower part of the bottle is completely matte. So this requires two different light sources, two different light characteristics. I zoom in a little bit. So the lower part of the bottle. So this part I illuminated very selectively with the Picolite and projecting attachment. The templates in a position that it does not illuminate the upper part of the bottle, and the shiny part I did not use in this situation the Pico box directly. I diffused additionally the Pico box because I wanted to have a little bit of gradations. So I backlit an acrylic plate with the Pico box, and I was using the gradation that happened here on the right and on the left to just show the round shape of this bottle a little bit. But in the end, the main light is nothing else than two Picolites and a little bit of light on the background in a very shallow pool of water. Okay, good. That's all the picture I wanted to show to you. That's why I'm going back to the normal view, and I have another look at the questions. Okay, so basically you can't fine-tune the size of the spotlight you receive with the aperture mask. Only with the distance. You have the, yeah, exactly. Okay, so there's no size between these two. Okay, but they are actually quite close to each other, and with just changing the distance a little bit, you can actually fine tune the size of your circular light. How can you get a softer edge transfer on the projection attachment for the Picolite? By using the grids. Okay, I mean, there is no softer edge from the Fresnel spot. How can you? Projecting attachment. Sorry. Softer edge of this one by defocusing. Okay, what I showed you here on the text, it was completely focused. But if you want to have soft edges, you do nothing else than defocus the lens. Very straightforward. Okay, very long question. Speaking about the specular shot with matches. I think that's the one I answered before. Okay. And for comparison, what is the minimal area that's possible on the set you light on using only the projection attachment? For a unit and put the G and zeros. Okay, there is. I mean, this one is super high quality, it's an extremely precise tool. I just see that I'm still standing in the dark. So let me take this one around. All right, so this is an unbelievably precise tool. And the person asking this question is absolutely right. There is as well a projecting attachment or adapter for the larger lights. I would use for small precise work, that's the one. That's definitely the one, because there are absolutely no color refraction. So there are no rainbows at the end of the light beam, right? So how is it called? Diffraction, I think it's called. So it's absolutely a high quality lens, super sharp if I want it, with a nice soft transition if I defocus it, but no fancy color effects, no color rendering, and so on and so on. On the other hand, if you use the rather large adapter for Unilight or Zeros or Pulsar G, and there you definitely get like rainbows at the end of the light angle. The projections, if you have projections on the body, what I showed before, or if you would like to project the tattoo on the model skin, it will never be as sharp. So if you would like to have if you have a huge set and you would like to have like a theatrical effect on the model, on a dancer, then you definitely can go for the large adapter. It's a spot attachment for Pulsar G or spot attachment for Unilight. But the light quality, the light precision is definitely secondary to this super precise tool. So in the end, it's completely, I don't even want to compare them, but the big difference is really in light control. Right, okay. So I hope this answered this long question here a little bit. I don't see any new questions coming in. Yes. What is the accessory? What is the accessory just only used with Picolite only? Okay, can I use other models with like Zeros? No. No, these are definitely these accessories, projecting attachment, grids, Fresnel, and Pico box, they are Picolite only. You cannot use them on other light shapers. I tried to explain this at the very beginning. This is like a unity. Okay, in the end, it starts even over there with the power pack. Power pack, lamp head, light shaper. This is a unity. They are made for each other. So it's not the way, even if you can make it fit somehow, that you squeeze this in front of a Pulsar G head. Maybe you can fit the flash tube in here, but it really doesn't make sense because it's not calculated. All the physics behind it is optimized for this light source. So the Picolite accessories are for the Picolite. That's why they are called like this. Right, okay, this was the last question. The window is empty. So I would like to thank you very much for your time this evening, at least evening Swiss time.